Welcome to Inspiring Indian Women's today's workshop. It is the NRI Bride Special. So, as we know, domestic violence is still such a common issue, even in today's environment, in today's world. And so that's why we, IIW, recurrently has complaints, has pleads, has requests to help with domestic violence cases happening in UK to Indian women. So that's why we got this workshop today. We got some amazing, brilliant panelists have joined us today to share their experience and knowledge. And that is going to be of profound use and guidance to anyone interested in this topic and seeking help. And we have some survivors and crusaders as well to share their stories. So everyone, every woman gets married with the dream to live happily ever after. But unfortunately, that happily ever after becomes unhappily ever after for some women. And that's a harsh reality today. In the Indian tradition, it's Kanyadan, the ritual of Kanyadan. The father of the bride gives away his daughter to the groom in good faith. Jape in the Kanyadan ritual, the groom is considered the Vishnu, the avatar of Lord Vishnu, and he promises to look after the bride and cherish her, respect her, and care for her. But unfortunately, some men make these promises only to break them, and that is the harsh reality. And we have come to know of so many incidents. That's why we are having this workshop today, and we have some amazing, brilliant guests with us. So, of course, we have Rashmi Mishra with us from IIW. We have a brilliant lawyer, Reema Chuck. She's a solicitor and mediator based in Oxfordshire, and she specializes in property and construction law, but she also has a mediation service, and she also has a charity called OM, which helps victims of domestic violence. So, hi, Reema. And then we have another lawyer with us, Savita Bansal, who is also a brilliant lawyer with 20 plus years of experience in family law. She specializes in immigration and traffic law, and she has managed to get indefinite stay for many women suffering, domestic violence, and she's provided brilliant legal help to such candidates. We also have with us the very lovely Ritu Sharma. She manages Kaushalya, which is an organization in Birmingham, women's organization, and she is such a fierce and passionate advocate for women to fight domestic violence and all other women's issues. And she's the author of Rich Man's Poor Daughter with us. So lovely to have you with us, Ritu. And we, of course, have with us Kashmira Kalsi. She is associated with the women's organization Sangam, and she's a counselor and here to help us, guide us, the victims of domestic violence with their queries. And we have with us Garima as well. So thank you, all of you lovely ladies. Thank you for joining us. It's so good to have you. And I hope to have a lovely session and really useful workshop today. So I think we'll start with Rima. Shall we start with Rima? First question to you.
Let's go for it.
So this is the basic. If we start with the basic, and let's trying and advising women, the NRI brides, the brides who are potentially going to join their husbands in UK. They're looking to get married to a UK partner. What are the things you think that a girl in India should be watching out for when they are seeing or meeting a UK or an NRI groom coming to India to find a potential bride? What kind of questions should they be asking? What should they look out for?
So I think, of course, we all know that in the back of our minds it's one of the biggest decisions that we'll make, especially when it comes to people moving their whole lives to another country, another culture. So yeah. I don't think anything is a no-go. You can ask anything that you want that is of concern to you. Some of the most common things that we come across, and I've come across with women, is education is a big one, as to people will say, well, actually they've got this education behind them, or they've got this, but people are too afraid to ask or challenge them. But how do you know any better unless you've actually seen what's for what? And why should you be afraid to actually ask? Because if you're going to be moving your life for someone, you know, there can't be any limitation. If somebody doesn't understand, there is a reason why they're not understanding or reacting to it in a bad way, to say, well, actually, why do you not believe me? Well, it could be just a simple question to say, yes, sure, I'll show you. So if you're concerned about education, yes, do ask that question. Sorry. Yeah. So the other sort of issues, you know, you first starting point, you know, look on social media. We live in such a digital world, so there is nothing stopping you from looking on social media. And I'm sure, you know, we all know how to find one person connected to the other and making those inquiries. You know, it's your whole life, because once you're here, we've got this IIW, which helps, but what if you're not aware of IIW? What if it takes you some time to become aware of charities and organizations that are out there to help you? So you've got to do all your diligence before you make the move. So social media is a big one. Ask for pay slips, jobs. You know, people often work for big companies, or wherever they work, there is always a record of it online. A lot of companies now will have your profiles online. So there's nothing sort of stopping you from actually doing those checks before. And if you can't find it, then of course do ask the question. There is nothing sort of saying, well, actually, you know, where do you work? And then Google the company. Find out on their social media what it is that they've been doing, you know, and look on the company website. If you can't find their credentials that match up to what they're saying, then ask them what they're earning. And I've seen so many cases in sort of real life where people have actually gone, they've sent their family members or they've sent their friends here, and to check out the groom, to say, well, can you show us your pay slips? We are related to so and so. I mean, if you could have a friend, you could have a distant relative, or even somebody from IIW. I don't see how all women are here in this group and somebody's in the UK. Why can we not just do some diligence or help somebody to say, well, actually, you know, we're happy to do these checks for you if you're concerned about that person. I've done it myself. I've actually helped quite a few brides who are about to move, and I've asked for the groom's pay slips. We've traveled 3 hours to actually find out whether that person works where he says he does. But why should we be afraid to do those things? Because it's your whole life, it's your future. So I think nothing is too small and nothing is too big when it comes to making the biggest decision that you're about to make for your life. So I think, yeah, it's you know, anything, wage slips, contracts, where you work, social media, friends and family, says a lot about somebody.
Yeah, you see so often, isn't it? The groom goes to India, he says, you know, I am a master's, I am a PhD. And when the bride actually comes here, she finds that he's just working in the dad's business and, you know, never even went to high school. You know, it's so many incidents I've seen like that. Kashmira, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, what I would like to add is that while we're talking about the educated sector, when you look at small villages and people from the lower socio-economic background, they don't have the capacity or the understanding. So they will not be able to do the due diligence we're talking about. So what they will do is they have this wow factor about, oh, NRI, a boy coming, NRI kamunda hai. You know, some of the dream of going to UK, Canada, they think the London ki life, ladki ki life ban jayegi, you know, that her life will be made. But the little do they realize that their daughter is going to go through hell when she arrives in this country, because they are so, you know, they are not educated enough. They just want to see a good future for their daughter, and they just don't know, and they get married. They marry her off on hearsay from what some people have said within the village. You know how it works in small towns and villages. So whilst we have the educated sector, we have people who are not educated, and this is where they slip through the net, and this is where we get brides coming in who are not educated, who come here and then who end up in modern slavery, unfortunately. And that is what I see now and again. Every time I'm counseling, I've counseled so many young girls who've come here because their parents were very poor. They just got them married off to a boy that was coming to the UK or who had a visa, coming on a spouse visa. So they even come on a limited visa and they think they're going to somehow come here and their life will change. but it doesn't happen that way, you know. But like you said correctly, Rima, a lot of homework should be done before giving your daughter away. Like you said, use family, use relatives, and, you know, to raise awareness. And I'd like to think that even by today's session, somebody somewhere is listening and informing a relative back home, please check up on the groom before you send your daughter away, you know.
Absolutely.
So
That's
we
very
just
clear.
think our today's will have achieved something. Even if we make a difference to one girl's life,
Absolutely.
we will have accomplished our mission.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, right, Kashmira, you know, awareness is such a big thing, isn't it? Because now we're sat here, God knows where this video, if it lands on somebody's page, where they're saying, well, actually this group, I mean, all of us, I don't see how any one of us will back away if there was an opportunity to check the validity of a groom because somebody was not sure or they had some concerns. And I think gut instinct is a big thing. So when you're talking to somebody, you look at them and you look through their soul. Sometimes you can see whether that person's being truthful or not. And if you've got those concerns, just don't let it go. That's the biggest piece of advice, is don't just
trust your instincts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trust your instincts. Correct.
I think, can I just come in here and, contribute that many a times, you know, how Kashmira said they're not educated, the parents, the family. But we've also seen that many educated, well-off families would make the same mistake, unfortunately. It's the temptation's too high. And secondly, I think this NRI status stands like so huge when it comes to, you know, getting a girl from India. And they can ask for anything, they can put any conditions on. You know, somebody who's 40 will go get a girl who's 25. All sorts of things happen. So education, definitely, any change that happens, I totally agree, Kashmira, happens through education, 100%. But many a times, educated people would kind of deviate as well. And that's the temptation of getting their girl abroad for whatever mentality. And I think, you know, Rima, what you've said is very valuable about making the checks. But I think many families would be too intimidated to even question. You know, you're telling us, okay, you're a graduate, you're a postgraduate. We want evidence for that. I think they might feel like, oh, what if we offend them by doing that?
That is
I'm
what
not
we are
saying
saying,
that's the
isn't
right,
it?
but
Even
yeah.
if they get offended, doesn't matter. That's what exactly. That's
If
what
they
we are
get offended, then there is possibility that they're hiding something. Because if
exactly.
they're telling the truth, they shouldn't really get offended.
No.
Exactly.
When somebody's
But then
honest
the parents
about
feel they're going to lose the groom. The parents feel frightened that they might lose the opportunity or for the marriage to take place if they start questioning the groom's side or the groom. You know,
Correct.
this is
Correct.
another thing that happens as well. You know, they want some future for their daughter, and they're not going to jeopardize it by asking questions or trying to, you know. So there's this balance. They are in a dilemma, and they get controlled by it. You know, it doesn't sort of serve them well, you know, to ask questions. So they'll keep quiet. And before we know it, the poor girl has ended up in the wrong home.
I think the whole sort of Kashmira completely sort of understand the whole intimidation or offense, but I think that this day and age we've got to be very honest, because we hear so many things, and that's the whole point of, you know, today's session, is that why should we be afraid? Why should women actually, I mean, as long as you're asking in a polite way, as Indians, we, you know, we've got a lot of culture, we're full of culture and respect, okay? So we all know how to address a question without offending somebody. Now, if somebody's getting offended, that's your first red flag, isn't it? So I think, you know, we should be saying to our women now that do ask the questions, ask in a nice way, but do ask the question. If it
Even if
offends
they get
them,
offended, but it's going to save them a lot of trouble in the long run, just in case. That's the thing. That's the thing. Just in case.
Absolutely, yes.
Correct. Lovely. Savita, you know, moving on to you, just, you know, thinking in foresight, you know, gold jewelry, such a big part of Indian wedding, and, you know, thinking in foresight, how should, you know, you know, the bride or the bride's family operate about that? You know, who should keep the jewelry, or, you know, what do you think? What's the best ideal, you know, legal solution you think, that in case if things break down after marriage, hopefully the bride is not going to lose out on her jewelry?
In this one, it's a very, very, very common experience, like, you know, which I've noticed in my clients, that once they are separated, usually when they get married, like, you know, immediately after marriage, in-laws or the husband, they somehow convince the girl that to leave the jewelry, like, you know, in the mother-in-law's locker or in the father-in-law's locker, like, you know, she doesn't have access to the jewelry immediately, like, in a few days after marriage. And when they separated, and when the girl moves here, obviously the jewelry is all back home and she is here alone with her husband, and when things goes wrong they have full access to the jewelry. So my advice will be like, you have to stand up, like, you're marrying, you're not like, doing a slavery or anything. You have to tell the person, okay, either it'll be a joint account, you and me, or my side of the jewelry will stay with me, at least like, to cover that the jewelry which is given by her parents, at least because that is given like, in our culture, it's an asset given to the girl, so that in terms of, in times of need, she's able to use it, she has access of it. So what she can do, either she should bring all her jewelry here, or she should like, she should actually need to tell, like, or it can be agreed between the boy and girl, because nowadays, like, between the engagement or like and the marriage, and between like, what we call roka and marriage, there is a time, so they can mutually agree. And I think when you agree in advance, things work in a better way, rather than when you talk to, as a newly wedded wife, to your in-laws, like, to newly wedded daughter-in-law with your in-laws, you don't have much say, and out of respect or out of like, whatever the reasons,
Exactly.
you can't say much. So the best way is to have locker in your name, either in your sole name or with jointly with your husband, and like, have the full access, at least like, in times of need. So whenever, if the things goes wrong, you have the access to your jewelry. Because if you lose that at this stage, then the only way to get it back is through the financial settlement at the stage of divorce. And you don't know when it's a divorce stage, because you are here, jewelry is on, locker is not under your name. So they are going to remove the things, which is very common scenario. They remove all the like, valuables, and they will say there was never anything in the locker. So that is not considered like, as a part of the asset which goes in the joint pot at the time of financial settlement. So it's a very, very common scenario which I've noticed, like, girls going through. So the only solution I would suggest, talk to about all this, like, in advance before the marriage, to your fiance, spouse, whatever, and then either go for a joint locker, or you can have like, when they earn her trust, when she earned their trust, then maybe she can have access to the other jewelry as well. But you can always say that I would like my jewelry in my locker, having full access to the locker. Bring the key here, don't even like, because another scene I have noticed, like, what they do is, you have the locker, but you don't have the key, you don't have the papers of the locker. So even end of the day, if you want to access your own jewelry, you have the locker in your name, but you still need to ask mother-in-law, father-in-law, whoever. I've noticed, like, even the sister-in-laws, like, so they will have access to that. So nutshell, you need to have the full access to all your assets.
So it's
And
again a
another,
question of not being worried about offending, because again that is the scenario that how can I tell my
see,
husband, how can I,
offense
but
will be taken. This is the
yes,
Indian culture.
yes, but
Offense
we
will
need to
be
be
taken.
strong. Women
You
need
need
to
to
be
be
strong.
strong,
Yeah.
because you are leaving your whole life behind. It's your
Yes,
parents' hard-earned money. It's your asset for your safety of your own future. And another
exactly.
thing, what I have noticed, like, even in terms of, if you have been like, if the girls are working back home and then they get married, they have some cash or FDs or whatever. So that's another very common scenario. They're asked to put like, father-in-law, mother-in-law as a nominee for their own FDs, or will operate your tax returns, or will operate your, whatever bank, because you won't be here, you won't be coming that often. So you need to think from that perspective as well, how you can secure, because once it's gone, it's gone. And then it's very difficult. It's a long and expensive battle in the court to get your valuables back, get your money back, get your jewelry back. And it is only through the way of financial settlement at the time of divorce. So you don't have access. When you separate, you end up having nothing in your hand if you're not working.
So somebody's asking a question, would joint account protect? Couldn't the
It,
abuser take out the jewelry and impress, ensure there is no way to confirm how much was there in the locker?
yes, joint account is again like, a risk, because the best one is, because see, again, as I said, like, it is very difficult. You like, between husband and wife as well, it's very difficult to ask that I want everything in my account. So it's difficult. But joint account, if you plan to go every time on your, or like, together as a couple, so that you can operate your jewelry, your locker, then it's fine. But otherwise, as I said, like, best is you can keep jewelry in your locker, whatever your parents have given me. And when they think that I've earned their trust, they can give it to me. But I'm going to put my jewelry, whatever my parents are given, in my own locker.
If it
That's
is
it.
a
You
joint locker, they can get it sealed, isn't it? They can have it sealed, and then only judge will
no.
decide who gets it.
Yeah, if it is a joint, if they don't remove the contents of the jewelry in the meantime.
Yeah.
So if, for example, I have seen, like, when there is a problem, when the spouse, like, when there's a tension between the household, then one spouse can, when the husband can go to India, he can operate whatever there. He can just say that, okay, I'm just going to visit my parents, or whatever the reason it could be, and just operate the locker and take all the contents of the locker. And then you don't have any evidence. The only evidence is that a locker was operated by on this date. You don't know what was there in the locker. It's very difficult to prove. So the best thing is to have locker in your own name. You can put your, like, to appease them, you can just put husband as a nominee, but you have to have control of your assets. It is going to offend, considering the Indian culture, but as said by Rima, you have to be very strong. You need to put
and I think no woman expects it to happen to her. No woman thinks, oh, I know it's going to happen to me, let me prepare. But this, be prepared. Worst case scenario, I think you should be prepared, and you have to act accordingly, especially if you're going overseas.
Exactly.
Jasmine, can I just sort of add to that what Savita's very helpfully highlighted, is that, of course, we can't prepare. Nobody can prepare that things are going to go pear-shaped. Now, the moment that you become aware that things might not go your way or might not go the way that you've planned, I think the whole point of evidence, how do you prove what was there? Now, looking at it from a sort of litigious point of view, which is what I do, and my bread and butter is, evidence is absolutely necessary. So I say, from the point you become aware things are a little bit off, why don't you start taking pictures? Why don't you start to actually confirm? Do you remember that we put that such and such in the locker? Is it still there? It's any evidence that you're looking for to prove what was left in the locker.
And take pictures before you put it in the locker anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, before you put it in. But, looking at it from a perspective where retrospective, you didn't do that. Now, how do you salvage that situation? Go and track your steps back. Go and actually take pictures with timestamps on it. Okay, lock it up. All you can do is better something that you couldn't protect at the start. So you take mitigating steps. Now, text your husband to say, well, actually, do you remember I put this in the locker? I went to see and it was still there today. Just things, because later on, later on that would help.
No, I would like to add more in Rima. Very, very nice. Like, you highlighted something. And, but the thing is, like, when, in terms of when the case goes for litigation, when it goes to the court, again, like, there'll be allegations, counter allegations. She took it. I'm like, I didn't take anything. It was her when during her last video, she took up the, like, make a list of everything, whatever contents you left in there. But again, the best thing is it should be under your control. Joint locker is still a trouble. It is a trouble because you can still make a list. And like, when you're together, you can take photos or whatever, but it is because as I said, like, when it goes to the court, it is going to be very expensive and it's very difficult to prove who took what. Even when you have the photos, I have seen in many cases, when you have the photos, still, like, the husband, he will say that, oh, we never had this jewelry, or it was sold, we needed it that time or that point of time, we were going to buy a property or whatever, it was sold out, so we never had it, like, recently for last 2 years, 3 years. So it's very difficult to prove.
All this kind of financial abuse, this is also comes under domestic violence, isn't it? Kashmira, you want to elaborate what is domestic abuse, not just violence?
Domestic violence and abuse actually is not just physiological, that one we think if we get beaten up or bruised, that's domestic violence. It comes in many shapes and forms. It is physiological, it's mental. So when, physiological is when they beat you up or, that is the harm, physical harm. Mentally is when they do gaslighting, where they manipulate you, so the perpetrator psychologically manipulates the victim. Then there's this emotional abuse where they keep calling you names, they say you're not good enough. There's this verbal abuse that goes on, that is emotional abuse. Then there's sexual abuse as well, where they can be rape in a marriage when it's non-consensual sex. But a woman thinks that, no, a man has a right, but there is no such thing. If she says no, it is no. but that is not, understood. So there is this, and then there is the financial abuse. So where the perpetrator basically controls the other partner's access to money, which diminishes the victim's capacity to support themselves, or even forces them to depend on them financially. You see, they are not allowed to open bank accounts, they're not allowed to have their own credit cards. So these are the various forms of abuse. And when we look at abuse, it also includes things like trafficking, human trafficking, modern slavery, honor marriages, all these things, female genital mutilation, all this is abuse. So abuse is in many, many forms. But when we're looking at NRI brides coming over, we can look at abuse as in the psychological, mental, emotional, financial, and sexual. Yeah, that will all encompass when she gets into a family that's going to control her. And abuse is basically its power and control over an individual. So it can sometimes, even the matriarch of the family will be abusing because the mother-in-laws have the upper hand, sister-in-laws, or whatever. And, culturally, the way we are brought up in our culture, Asian culture, you don't, talk, you don't stay behind, everything stays behind closed doors. You don't talk about family to anyone. So the woman gets trapped even more and more inside the abuse. And the control is, then the mother-in-law will say, if she says, oh, my husband is doing this, mother-in-law will sort of say, oh yeah, well, even her father used to hit me, sort of thing, and minimalizes it. So the poor girl or the NRI bride will end up normalizing it because she has no other way to cope with it. And this is what
doesn't have any other option. Correct.
Yeah, she has no other option. She's stuck between, and she's like a little bird in a cage, where she's completely dependent on the family or her partner or whatever. And sometimes
she's not working, not going out.
She's not going out. She's isolated, and that's what they do. They isolate you. They don't allow you to have friends. They don't allow you to mix. They don't allow you to work. Some of them don't know how to, converse in English. So they're not fluent in English. They can read Hindi or whatever. And so, they're not allowed to. And this is the the point is control, to keep them under control. And that is the power and control that the family and the partner use is what we would say is abuse. And it's about recognizing that and, raising awareness on that. So that is what domestic abuse is. And now, unfortunately, in our society, in our culture, we are just, expected to conform, but and that is absolutely not right. And there's gender inequality there, and it's gender expectations that women are expected to behave this way and men are expected to behave this way. But that's not true, because now woman is on par with men. She has now gone to the moon, and she's a surgeon, and she does everything a man does. She's a pilot. What isn't a woman? She does everything a man does. So those days are gone. We are in the modern world, and we have to empower our sisters that this is not on, and you need to get out there and seek help. But and the way they started is by confiding in a friend, and confiding in a friend, someone they can trust. If someone is experiencing it, you can tell as a woman to woman. If you sense it, if your neighbor is going through it, some colleague at work is going through it, something is not right. Your gut tells you that this lady there's something not right. Why is she like this? If she confides in you, point her in the right direction, signpost her, tell her to call the police if she's in immediate danger. And we will share a number of numbers. Rashmiji will share some contact numbers, which they can seek help. There is so much help out there, even for people who don't speak English. Once they get into the system and they get the support from us, even if they don't have recourse to public funds, they can get support. We do have charities that help out. So this is where we have to try and educate. We teach our friends and, educate our friends, educate our families, look out for each other. Also in the home, teach our children what abuse is. And, if male, like children, if they see abuse, if they see like a son, if he sees his father abusing his mother, chances are he will go and become a perpetrator as well. But if you teach them, no, this is not on, and you respect women, and this is, you can change it. And then we can, by through education and awareness, it's a very powerful tool. We can change it for them and support them.
Garima, you want to add anything to that? Garima?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Kashmira. I just wanted to add this. Sometimes if the woman, if they are making the noise, they are talking to their parents, sometimes they don't believe them. They will say, just stay there. This is your family. This is your husband's house. And that's why they are in fear. They don't talk to their parents because, again, another community, they are waiting for how you are in UK. We have sent you to UK. They are waiting their responses. So there is so much fear in them. And also, if they will make the decision that they are going to leave, maybe they have called the police. The excuse in-laws, they will come up. They will say either she's mental, she has mental health issues, or they will say she's after our property. The reason she doesn't want to stay because she wants her share in the property, or they will say she's characterless, she has extramarital affair. And because this happens behind the closed doors, women, they are alone and they are in front of their in-laws and husband, sister-in-law. So she's alone. Whatever they are saying, our community outside or family back home, they will believe. So the fear is so big in their head. They don't ask for help. They don't talk to anybody.
Yeah, Ritu, what would you say to that? What should the girl do
Um,
in that kind of scenario?
I think that the biggest culprits in the whole situation of domestic violence is the culture, is the education, is the set of, modalities we give our girls. And the only way we can ever get out of this situation, and it's not going to happen anytime soon, I'm sorry to say, it is going to take centuries for Indian girls to know that they can stand on their own. What are we feeding our children? As Garima said very rightly, and Kashmira, I think, mentioned that when there is domestic abuse in the family, the son, the boy child probably would become a perpetrator, and the girl child would become a victim. And that's a psychological fact that it happens over and over again. Now, what we need to do as people, as mothers, as aunties, at whatever capacity we possibly can do for the girl child is to teach them, okay, when they're old enough for marriage, etc., we can teach them about the concept of domestic abuse. What does it look like? What does a perpetrator look like? What techniques they use? I mean, I think I was nearly 37, 38 when I actually found out there were these techniques that perpetrators use called gaslighting, called, emotional abuse. I did not know that. I was an educated postgraduate woman. I was a
You want to
professional nurse.
elaborate on that? What's gaslighting, for example?
Gaslighting is when the perpetrator would instill some sort of mental um, note in the victim's head to say that, oh, you're losing your marbles. For example, the perpetrator would say something, and when the victim tries to revisit it, the perpetrator would deny that and say, oh, I never said that. Where did you hear that about? I never talked about it. So that's gaslighting, making them believe what is not, and playing with their mental health, really. And many women, when they get to a certain point, because there's social pressure, there's emotional wreckage, there is worry and fear around their future as well as future of their children if they've got them. There is this shame and guilt of letting their parents' honor go. There is this shame and guilt of not being a woman enough to hold on to her domestic duties and accept. And we have got such huge cultural expectations of women. It's horrendous, I'd say, and it's totally not viable to meet them. One woman alone must be a great mother, a great wife, a great mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, a great sister-in-law, a great daughter, a great this, a great that. And what about the poor girl, right? And she is
Yeah.
under a lot of mental pressure as it is. And if the police comes and the in-laws say, oh, she's losing her marble, she's got mental health issues, I'd say most probably she has. If she's in that situation, she probably is suicidal. She probably has thought of it. She probably is thinking of getting out of this mess is easier than dealing with it.
So they are pretty much likely to be depressed because it's the mother-in-law, it's the father-in-law, it's the sister-in-law, the husband, everyone likely to be against her, and she's having
Definitely.
to
And
fight
and
alone.
the biggest blow comes, Jasmine, when it's your own parents, it's your own blood family, and
Yeah,
they are ashamed of you because you could not pull through.
yeah,
Not because, okay, they would probably not stand by you because, once you're married, Kanyadan, as you were mentioning, why, I don't want to challenge anybody's religious beliefs, but you're giving away your daughter, which is fine, but she's not dan, she's not something you can just give as prasad or something. Give that, instill that honor in the woman as well while you're sending her off. Tell her you are a person. We should educate our girls in a manner that if God forbid they do face a situation like this, where domestic violence is their biggest challenge, where they have to deal with it on their own, they are well equipped. Not just in terms of understanding of, the law and how they need to approach it mentally and emotionally, but also as a person. They should have enough self-worth to believe that it's okay. I did not plan it like this, but okay, if I've come to this, it's okay. This is not the end of the world, because many women do feel like this. And
Yeah.
rightly so, because culturally that's the reflection. You're not good enough if you're divorced women. Friends walk away. Community walks away. People shut your door on you. You're not good enough to come to their houses anymore because you're a single woman now.
They don't want
You're
you
a
at some
divorced.
religious occasions or something.
You're a
They're like, oh, we
divorced.
don't want her. Yeah.
Exactly. You become a bad omen.
Yeah.
So
True.
in my understanding, the biggest, sorry, Kashmira, give me a second. The biggest answer is educating girls in a way where they know their own self-worth. Yes, respect and honor and love and everything else for everybody else on the outside is taught to the girl, but parents need to make it a priority to teach their girl self-worth. Thank you.
Sure. Anita, can you come in? I think you had some viewpoints as well you wanted to put across. Anita?
Yes, I just wanted to say, like you're talking about NRI brides, but there can be another point as well, like women over here who are British citizens marrying in India.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, it was like that. Like I got married over there, I bought him here, and it's like so many stories there. Even my cousin had that problem. And then for the first 10 years, he's okay, sweet, all right. And then as soon as he's got the passport and everything,
Yes.
like his family settled, then they change their color, like now, okay, my family's here because of me, and then they change their colors. And also I want to say that about gaslighting, like, he used to gaslight me a lot, literally. And I didn't understand at first, like, obviously, at that time you're not aware, you
Don't
having
understand.
children, and then you think it's you. Sometimes you think you're at fault because he manipulates you in such a way, you thinking you're at fault. But then his whole family started like abusing me. It's like everybody was on it. Oh, she's gone mad. And to my relatives, they would actually go. His brother-in-law, the younger brother-in-law, and his sister, sorry, my brother-in-law and my sister-in-laws, they would go around without me knowing to my relatives and basically say, oh, she's so mad, she has anger issues, she has this, just to, make me down, like humiliate me in front of everybody.
Because
It's
you were
like,
just a means to a passport there. You were just a means to get a British passport. So using.
Yeah, and he wanted to get his sister married here. I got him married, and after that, I'm the bad guy now. I'm the one who's mental, like you said, like psychological. They were all torturing me. Like
Yes,
it was
it works both ways. So like, about doing the due diligence and the research, it works both ways. Even if you are a girl going to India and, marrying a potential, a groom, you need to do again the
yes,
due diligence that way
yes,
also.
yes, because I didn't know he was more interested in settling his family more than me. Like it was like I was means to an end. And my cousin had the same problem. Like she got married, 5 years he was okay. As soon as he got the passport, he texted us, I want a divorce. I mean, what is this? It's like you
This
just
is
want
again
to
happening so many times. We see this, isn't it? Scenario again and again. And
yes,
people in the beginning, it's this, people are in love, the girl is in love, it's all lovey-dovey, and they don't realize, and they're just naive.
Yeah.
In such thing, okay, I can put few points there, because in such scenario, if you have a feeling, I would say to all NRI brides, if anyone has a feeling that the husband, like, the marriage is not going as it is supposed to be, and you think that after he get his visa, ILR or citizenship, he's going to leave you, so you need to wake up. It should be a wake-up call, because, like, there are things, as an immigration expert, I can tell you that like, there are certain things which you can do. You can inform the Home Office that your marriage is, like, not working very well. Rather than getting him indefinite, you can get him an extension.
But long marriage is a bit difficult. Like mine was after 10-11 years. I think.
Yeah, no, what I'm trying to say is, once he has ILR, it's very difficult. Then you
Yeah.
can't revert,
He had
worst
a
thing could ever
British
happen. Yeah, but if you have a little inclination, like, a little before that, this is like, that he's going to leave you, he's going to divorce, and he's just playing his cards right at the moment, and then you can inform the Home Office rather than getting him indefinite. Put him in
Yes.
like, I have done it for a few of my clients actually. You can
That's an
put him
excellent
another
point,
like,
Savi.
another 10 years extension. So he will be on
Correct.
an
That's a very good
extension
point.
visa, and then like,
Yeah.
you will know if he stays, he's a good person. If he doesn't
Correct.
stay, then like, he will have to go back. Misuse, like, he's just trying to exploit the situation. He will
Yeah.
like, he'll be in trouble himself. So there are ways, like, but I think if you have a little information that this is happening, always go for the legal consultation. Always like, check with the professional.
Yeah.
They're the best people like, to tell you what to do if you like, things are not going wrong, not getting like, going as it is supposed to be, what to do, how to go about it. But get in touch with in time, because when it's late. Because I have seen many ladies coming to me like, oh, like, as you said just now, like,
It's too,
is
the marriage,
indefinite.
that's the
Yes, he
problem.
was very nice. He was all
Yeah,
okay. Like,
before
I
when,
had like in the last 6 months, I had a feeling, but I thought it's just like, regular husband-wife issues, and I think it should be
yeah,
fine. But now he's got
that,
indefinite, and he doesn't want to do anything with me now. Then it's too late. We can't do
yeah,
anything. But before he gets his indefinite, there are things which we can help you, like, achieving what you want to,
yeah.
or like, to
Thank
just
you,
to
Savi.
stop the
That,
abuse.
what
Yeah, no,
happened
that's a
was,
brilliant.
like, when I was in India, like I went back to India because I had a problem, health issues as well. And so I went back to India, children, and my in-laws were saying, okay, you can send the son in the weekend to my house, like, because you're having health issues, it will be easy for you to manage. Because 3 children, so it's going to be easy with 2 children, send him on the weekends. So I agreed, okay, I'm going to send you in the weekend. And I was doing that all the time. Like he was coming on like Sunday night and then going to the nursery. I have twins, which were going to the nursery. And then after a couple of months, I don't know what happened, what they were telling my husband about me, like they were going behind my back again. And then they would, then in the Holy Festival, there was a Holy Festival in India. And I said, can you please give my children, all 3 went for 2-3 days. And I said, I don't want to celebrate on my own. Please send them to my house now, because now I want to
Yeah.
celebrate with kids. And what happened, before 1 or 2 days before the Holy Festival, they came to my house, my brother-in-law, the younger one, and he basically bought the daughters. And I said, where's my son? Then he started shouting at me, you don't know how to take care of your children, and look at her finger. Her finger's gone all bad, my younger daughter's one. And I said, well, when she went from here to your house, she was okay. And now you are saying her finger went bad. What the hell were you doing? Why did you
They'll
take her
find
to the
any
doctor?
excuse, basically. They'll find any excuse to
Yeah,
blame you, isn't it?
he did.
Absolutely.
He was taking pictures, making it go bad, didn't take her to the doctor, did not inform me. And he was sending pictures to my brother, to my husband here, and to my dad, and everybody who was on about WhatsApp. Look, she doesn't know how to care for the child. When actually, when she went from my house, she was okay. And he
Brilliant.
took
These
her
are
Yeah.
to
all
a,
excuses.
something happened in the park. She fell down, something got infected, and he did not bother, just to make me look bad. He did not take her to the doctor, neither my mother-in-law nor my sister-in-laws. Nobody bothered, just to make me look bad. And then I said, okay, I'm going to have him. And then he started shouting. I said, give my son back. No, I will not give your son back. I said, but he's my son. And then he started cursing me and saying that I will get you killed, and threatening to kill me basically. And then I got really scared, because he's like 6 feet tall and I'm just hardly 5 feet. And I just said, I think so you should leave my house, otherwise I'm going to scream now. And everybody's going to come here. And I started screaming, basically help. And then he
Yeah.
just from my house. And then I didn't know what to do, because like going to the police was also in India, it's very difficult to go to the police as well. You hear all these
Yes.
stories.
No, it's
And I was
because
scared.
everything is about connections and all. So,
Exactly.
can I just
Yeah, go
Correct.
on.
No, sorry. So I was saying we are talking that domestic violence can happen with any woman. It's not like, it happens only to Indian women or UK women. It is any country, any religion, any age, any
Yes.
background, tall, short, dark,
Yeah.
fair, educated, uneducated.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
happen with anybody.
Well, yes. Yes.
Domestic violence doesn't know any boundaries, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happened. And then after 2 days, because I couldn't go to the police because I wanted some solicitor with me. So I asked my aunt's brother to help me. And then he took me to this solicitor and then he wrote the application. I just gave it in to the police. Like, this is what happened. And like, my son hasn't come back. And then what happened? And then I told the police after that. Like the police came to my house the next day and they're asking the mohalla, if you know, no mohalla udhar hota hai.
Yeah, in the
Like,
neighborhoods, and they ask
yeah,
questions. So it's very
they said,
different. Things are
oh,
very different
did
in
you see the
India.
that? And I'm really, really amazed. I said, then the police came to my house and I said, why the hell are you asking these questions to the neighborhood? Because he went on my own consent, but he did not bring my son back. So why would he be kidnapped? He wasn't kidnapped from my house. It's just now I don't give him consent because he threatened to kill me, because I said to the police as well, they're threatening to kill me if I come near the house or do anything. And they have connections because I was like on my own. I'm from here. I don't know anybody. They know everybody. They have connections.
Yeah.
And then he said, okay, oh, we have to still, do
It's about
inquiry.
isolating, that's the technique they use. They
Yeah.
want to isolate you. They want to put you down. They want you to lose confidence. That is what
Exactly.
it is.
I did because I was on my own and nobody was helping me. So anyway, they went back and then I said, look, if you call me to the police station, please don't call me at night. And I don't want to be in the same room as my in-laws if you call them. And he's promising me, yes, we'll do that, madam. And he went. And do you know, at 10 o'clock the same night, at 10 o'clock, he's telling me to come to the police station. I said, how do you think I'll come? He said, no, you have to come.
Various problems
Yeah,
there.
because actually by law now it's not allowed to ask a woman to come at 10 o'clock at night to the police station, and you are telling me to come. Then I got a bit scared as well. And then I said, okay. Then I asked my aunt, can you send her brother to my house so he can take me? I don't want to go on my own to the police station. And then they took me there, and you wouldn't believe, they put me in the same room as the in-laws. Like it was a nightmare.
Yeah, very different things, you have to think about it very
Exactly. Even if you ask the police for help, this is what happens to you. That's why I've lost trust in the police system. I'll be very honest with you. I don't trust them at all now because I've had such a bad experience. And when I went there, I'm seeing my cousin brother there with them, not with me, but with them, my in-laws.
Okay.
And I just really lost all my confidence. Anyway, I went there. I said, then the SHO of the police is saying to me, oh, madam, that doesn't, it's a domestic issue. It's not a kidnapping issue. Your son goes there and stays there. I said, I do agree. My son goes there and stays for the weekend. Even my daughter sometimes stay there. But he threatened to kill me, and I asked him to bring my son back to me. Because if somebody is threatening to kill me, I don't want my son in that environment.
Right.
Then he said, okay, but it's a domestic issue. We phoned your husband. Your husband phoned us as well, and he's saying that your son lives there. But I said, no. If you ask the school and do this attendance in the nursery, you'll know he lives with me. Because
sometimes things in India are so corrupt as well, as Harpal is saying, money talks in India. So it's like who how much you can pay. So sometimes things are different in India.
Yeah, they knew everybody.
Jasmine, I just want to interrupt here because we have Councillor Pranav Banot here, and we are very lucky to have him here. I'll just put him on spotlight there. There he is, Councillor Pranav Banot, meeting him for the first time, but heard about him a lot. So Pranav, welcome to the show. Pranav is just going to talk about wedding laws. Isn't it, Pranav?
Yeah, I mean, hello everyone.
Welcome, Pranav.
For organising this is so important, and I must say I'm heartbroken by some of the accounts. We read about it, but actually hearing it firsthand really makes it all the worse in terms of what's going on. I just want to say a quick few words, really. I'm a councillor in a place called Chigwell in Essex. And leader of the council in Chigwell Parish Council. And if I were to tell you that one of the highest crimes in Chigwell at the moment is domestic abuse, mainly against women, which, during the lockdown was made all the worse. Yeah. And many people in Chigwell are from the Indian and Asian subcontinent, mainly India, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And it really is quite sad. And You know, from what I'm hearing, under no circumstances should women be treated as some sort of asset or some sort of tool, whether it is for sex, whether it is for immigration, whether it is for, the supporting a family. And, from some of the stories that I'm hearing right now, in 21st century Great Britain, it's actually very sad that this is still happening. We're progressing in technology, progressing in all sorts of areas, yet domestic abuse seems to still be falling lower and lower in the agenda by the government, by the police, by lots of different agencies. And
Yeah, I agree.
it's solved very, very quickly. And what I would like to say is, one of the big issues we have experienced in Chigwell was women not being able to have an outlet and not being able to talk because, of course, they're living in these houses and, their husbands have got such a grip on them. They have nowhere to go. So
Absolutely.
one of the campaigns we've been trying to run is something called Annie, A-N-I. Some of you may have heard about it, but basically, Boots, the pharmacy in Great Britain, they have this campaign where if a lady or even a man is suffering from domestic abuse, they can go to the counter and just say Annie, A-N-I, and they'll be taken straight into a consulting room where they can get assistance. And one thing we've been trying to do is use that campaign in some of the shops and some of the pharmacies in Chigwell as well. So if there is any woman or man, being a victim of domestic abuse and can't get help because they're worried that their partner's really going to, kind of beat them, for example, as a result of doing so, they have a code word that they can use when they go to the pharmacy. And that's really a big campaign we're trying to push right now to try and resolve it. But, I think I just want to say that this is a really, really fruitful webinar, very fruitful discussion. And I hope it empowers more women to support other women. That the reality is that many people on this call may have been subject to domestic abuse. But I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of more women who can't attend a call like this because their husbands or maybe looking over them and they're not getting the help they need. So I think if there's one real thing that we can do is go out into the community and raise the whistle and push against any sort of domestic abuse. And all I'd like to say is thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Pranav. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, our next question, Ritu, if I can come to you. Say if a woman is suffering abuse, the husband is, beating her up every now and then. And one day she thinks, I had enough, if I stay anymore, he's going to kill me. So what should she do?
Pack away and leave. That's the one thing.
How? That's the thing. How?
I'm laughing because that's what I did. And it was not as if I was it was not as if I was being beaten every now and then. It was the first deliberate physical assault that I experienced. There was domestic emotional abuse, and there was verbal abuse, and there was gaslighting, and there was cursive control and all sorts of things. However, he had never physically assaulted me. He'd shoved me a couple of times. He twisted my wrist once, but there was no deliberate, but then he headbutted me once. And that was in the presence of my 4-year-old. And being an educated woman, that is what I understood nevertheless, despite of the fact that there was no family backup, there was no family in the UK, there was no support around. And when I picked my child up and walked out of that door, I knew I was not coming back. And that was because of 2 reasons. That, okay, I've let myself down to a level where he thought it was okay to do that because he verbally abused me for 11 years, emotionally controlled me, financially controlled me, and totally drained me as well. But he was the father to my children. And many a times women are controlled through that aspect. Or you the mother, and you feel for your children constantly, consistently, you're hurting for them. Even if in a toxic relationship, you're thinking how my children are being affected by that. But in that moment, Jasmine, I knew that if I put up with this now, this is what I'm showing my children to put up with in future. And that is one thing I was not going to stand for. So I picked my daughters up and I walked away, not knowing where I was headed, not knowing where I was going to spend the night, I forgot to even grab my coats because my legs were shaking. And I was not obviously in the right state of mind. And after 11 years of control, when you make such an abrupt decision, the wreckage, the emotional wreckage that comes with it, that is huge, that is massive, that pulls you down even further mentally and emotionally. But I would say do not wait to be beaten up time and again. The first time it happens, because most of the times when a perpetrator has hit you on purpose, very consciously knowing what they're doing, then that will happen again.
It will
Chances
not
are
change.
it
Yeah.
would probably not change. No, unless there's a really strong family support in the background, somebody can stand by you and tell them that if you touch my daughter or if you touch my sister the next time, I'll break your fingers. And I'm sorry to sound like this, it is violent and that's not the right approach, but many a times it's the family support when that is there. The perpetrator would think twice before they are actually
Yeah.
doing something of the sort.
Yeah.
So I'd say if somebody is under threat of, you know, I'm sorry, somebody's talking in the background. So if somebody is under threat that they can be physically assaulted, I'd say please don't put up with that. You are respectable, you are respectful, you're a daughter, if you're a mother, you're a woman to start off with. Respect yourself enough to not stoop that low. Pick yourself up. Does not matter. To be honest, Jasmine, we are blessed to be in this country, in whatever capacity that is. Even if you were dependent, I was not dependent on my ex-husband. He was dependent on me, right? But he took the control because that was how culturally it was supposed to be. And he came, as Anita was saying a little while ago, for the first 10 years, it was fantastic because he needed my support. He needed to get the visa sorted. Although I was getting inklings, I did not know where to go from there because of various reasons. And women do face a lot of reasons and a lot of situations that arise from this one situation of this relationship that has gone wrong. Because they're answerable to the society, they're answerable to the parents, they're answerable to their children. So where do we stop? But I'd say nobody should put up with this, not at all.
Can I add something here? When you say pack and leave, I would say still keep the cool of your mind. Still be very careful. What are you doing? Because especially if you are settled here, that's a different matter. I'm just from the legal point of view, it's very important to move away from the abuser. But the important thing is you need to collect some evidence. You need to collect something which will help you later to regularize your stay. Because many ladies I have noticed, those suffer because they are migrants. They are on a spouse visa. They suffer. And they suffer in silence because as I have seen in my clients' cases, the husband, I'm not going to renew your visa. I'm going to inform the Home Office that I'm withdrawing my sponsorship. That is another sort of abuse. It's a controlling behavior. And she suffered because she don't know, and especially considering our Indian culture or any Asian culture, the way it is, that they don't want to go back. How their family is going to react. How, what they will be answerable. Their family will be answerable. So it's exactly. It's a social stigma. So you need to think what you are going to do. If you think things are not getting right, he is going to abuse you or he is abusing you, because things don't start overnight. You can see, and people, and especially with the ladies, they don't leave immediately. They think that, things will get better. What I have noticed in my client, things will get better. He will improve. I'll try to make some
sense. Or as
you
you were saying earlier, the elderly ladies tell you it's normal. All men are like
this. Exactly. Exactly. So in that situation, if you think the things are not going right, and though you keep positivity that, okay, let's try to sort it out, but still collect some evidence, get the legal help, see what are the options available to you. What, that if you're a migrant, if you think you are due for an extension, or even you're just on a spouse visa, you just entered the country, maybe, because I have seen cases where within a month or so you start seeing that abuse, and in some cases it's a year or 2 years. So you have, in whatever scenario, you have enough time, you consult someone and see what are the options available, because people don't know, the ladies, women don't know that even if they are on a visa, even if they're still on a spouse visa, it's not that things won't happen, that they can't regularize their stay. Even if you withdraw his sponsorship, we inform the Home Office. If you have taken appropriate action at appropriate time, collected some sort of evidence, obviously with the help of whatever the solicitor tells you to, so you can at later stage get your visa, settle yourself here. Because once your visa is settled in this country, things, as you said, things are different. It's not like back home. Help is available, support is available. You contact your GP, you contact contact your, the counselor or any women charity, any help, like, whatever is available. If there is any abuse, inform the police. If you don't want to make a formal complaint, like, if he has not properly physically abused you, but there is still some kind of abuse, don't be scared. You can just, like, again, you can tell the police. There could be just, like, a diary report for them, rather than, like, where the legal action can be taken against him. So it will be just an information to the police, so it will stay in the record, which at later stage you can use it for your immigration purposes to sort out your status here in this country. So there are so many things which you can do.
You're right,
but
Savita, because there's all cases, every single case is unique in itself, given the circumstances.
yeah,
And I totally agree. I think it's all around educating anyone who
Yeah.
possibly could get in that situation, and having this information readily available. As Pranav was saying a little while ago, that the pharmacies have got this outlet now where they're trying to help. I mean, I did not know any of that, and it's only
yeah,
after I started the work that I do in women empowerment now that I found out there's so much help available. There's Women's Aid. There's so many other charities that would have, helped me at that time, but I was just not aware.
So I think
And
that's a good point to know then, isn't it, Savita, that, legally they can be secure. They don't need to feel insecure that, oh my God, I'm on a spouse visa and now my husband is going to, send me back to India. Because I think that's the common concern that,
It is.
women come with, that, oh my God, he's saying he's going to divorce me and I have to go back to India, but I don't want to go back. So you're
Yeah.
saying that, no, they can stay.
They can,
They
definitely
can,
they can
which is a
stay,
good
because I would advise to, like, women, that always keep your passport with yourself. Don't give it away to your husband to keep in a locker, or, like, save,
Yeah.
because
very
you're not
common mistake,
immature.
isn't it?
It's a very
Yeah.
common mistake. Keep your BRP card, keep your passport with you. It's not like, you're mature enough to, keep it safe. It's not that only he can keep it safe. You can also keep it safe in the same way. And try, if in any scenario, if you have to give the passport, keep a copy in your email, in your computer, laptop. Maybe send it to your family back home, whoever
Yes.
you trust, like, give a copy, like, and similarly copy of his passport as well. So keep certain things safe. And then again, what other things you can do, you need a legal assistance in that, like, so when you have a little inclination, don't leave it like, oh, it'll be sorted. Just take few actions. You collect your proof of residence together, because all these things are going to help you at later stage when you're going to regularize your stay. Because I have seen recently a couple of cases I have dealt with. In one of the ladies' case, actually in both cases, then the most recent ones, like, one was here only for a year, the other one was here around 2 years, and they were like, one was not even due to extension, and, like, the other one was due for extension sometime around June this year. And so she had to flee immediately. But luckily she contacted me through Facebook. And so I told her, like, okay, you're leaving, but collect this before you leave, so that, like, later stage when you're going to make an application, we have some evidence. So she did collect, and she was not, like, her husband was threatening her that she's going to withdraw the sponsorship, like, he's not going
Very
to
common
help her in
scenario.
extension. Very common scenario, as usual. And and he was at a stage, one of them was literally ready to go back. She was in a hotel, she left the house, she stayed in a hotel, and she was going to take the flight and go back, because she thought it's not possible to do anything now. The only thing is she will have to go. But luckily she got in touch, we sorted it out, guided her through, made an application, and we had a successful application. We got her results in February, and she got not only extension, we got her indefinite leave to remain. So now she's settled, and she can do whatever she wants. She's an educated girl, she can look for a job, she can do so many things now. She can take control of her life. And the similar,
you don't have to go back. And I think very important to collect evidence for the domestic violence. Talk to your GP.
not only
Let there be an
domestic
official
violence.
record. Talk
Yes,
to social services. Talk to the police.
exactly.
If there's an assault or physical violence,
Yes,
make a
don't
that
hesitate,
there's
don't
a proper
hesitate.
official record of it.
Yes, and keep a copy, keep the incident report with yourself, like, okay, though these things can be, like, collected at later stage as well, but keep a record. Because once you, like, and in many cases they don't report, they think, oh, their husband will be in trouble, like, there is still some emotional
Attachment.
connection, emotional attachment, there's a connection, and they think that, oh, he'll be in trouble. But sometimes in such scenario, you have to be a bit selfish. It's not being
They feel
selfish. You
guilty.
have
I
to
don't
look
want
for
to ruin his career. You know, we see
exactly.
that so many times. I don't want to ruin his
Exactly,
career.
exactly. So whatever you want to do, don't just do it for the sake of, like, considering what their friends are saying, like, because the friends, in such cases, friends and family do get involved. But
Yeah.
you seek legal help. You, like, get a consultation and see whatever is right or wrong, whether you want to withdraw the police report or not, because sometimes withdrawing the police report is a negative impact on your immigration status at later stage. Like, when you make an application, it's a negative impact. So there are so many things to consider, but I would say right legal assistant at the right time. But yes, inform your GP, even, like, you just, like, uh, go alone or with your husband, whichever way, but inform the GP in a discreet way. You can always inform there is a mental stress, there is a depression, feeling of depression, and they will ask. So you can, like, in a way you can inform that it's a marital stress. So it'll be all on the record. So there are things which needs to go on the record, which helps at the later stage when we make an application, like, this is how we need to, like, um,
It's all about
and
evidence, because it's, you're dealing with the law, so you need evidence.
yes,
That,
Yeah.
yes.
Can I
Rashmi,
just
can you share
on
the
that
Yes.
there? Just one point is that when we talk about talking to GPs and gathering evidence, people are often afraid to report it to the police because it's, of course, who our neighbors find out, everybody else finds out. Talking to GPs confidential, so it's your GP records that don't go anywhere. I know it's probably common for all of the women here today, but somebody coming here from India who's new to the system, it's quite important to remember that legal consultations, any professional consultations you have, they are very much protected and it's all confidential. Now, talking about once you've got that evidence, legal fees are often a concern for a lot of women as to what would happen.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to these issues of domestic violence, when you are on a visa, on a dependent visa, there are charities out there and there are lawyers out there who are given government funding to actually help you and pay for that fees. So you don't have to pay the Home Office fees if there is domestic violence in your case. And the legal fees is also funded by the government. So there is that provision available for women who are thinking we can't afford legal fees.
That's such an important point, Rima. Yeah, because there are many times they are not working, and they think, how can I afford a lawyer? I cannot afford a lawyer. How can I get a divorce?
Something.
So it's about finding the right charity. Charities like Mina. Mina's here today. They help. It's one of the many charities in the UK that help women come out of those situations, and they actually point them in the right directions. Now, you don't have evidence, you're leaving the house, where are you going to go? There is also accommodation that is available. There are charities who help and house you. So you've just got to basically do your research however you can, and people will always point you in the right direction because that information is readily available online. The other point to mention is that once you leave, you're not obliged to make the application the next day. There is 3 months concession, and I'm sure Savita can highlight on that a little bit more as an immigration specialist, but you get 3-month concession to gather your evidence, okay, for that application, which will then lead you to an ILR, which is indefinite leave to remain, or another 2.5 years, 3 years, however long it is that you're going to get on the basis of that domestic violence ground. So you've got 3 months, which you will get to gather everything. And again, that's funded by the government. And then after that, once you've got 3 months, you've found your feet, you've found accommodation, then you think about making the application in the same way, and the funding available for that.
Okay,
Can Meena,
I'll add to this one.
Meena, do you want to comment on that? Like, what kind of help refugees, refuge provider organization provides?
No, actually, I was going to say something about myself. That's I'm going through divorce, and I've got my decree in IC after fighting for it, and it's a long story.
Sorry, I meant Meena, but okay, you're Meena.
All right. So, did you want Meena to talk on that one? Then I can talk about it. So there be a continuous follow up. Yes, of course. Sure. Sorry.
Meena, do you want to just?
Yeah, so basically there are many charities like a refuge,
women's side, a refuge is really good. So if a woman is in kind of, she wants to leave and she can't stay in the house, then she can ring up. All the numbers are on the internet, and if she does call the police, they can provide the numbers for those charities as well. They have
Right.
funding for people who don't have the recourse to public funds, we call them. So they have no government fund, public funding, access to public funding, but there is provision for those people who are suffering or going through domestic abuse. So there are provision. There are Southall Black Sisters. There are there's some other organization in London who actually have got the funding to house those people, to send them on refugees and pay for everything that they need for up to 3 months. And then after the 3 months the period, they apply for the DV funding, which I think is up until it goes on up until they get their permanent residency. So
Right.
in my a couple of good women have just got their permanent visa, but they left with nothing, but they were supported by those charities. And yeah, so there are, they can do something about it. There is help out there. There is all sorts of help out there.
And
And
just
then
quickly elaborate like how refuge work, if a woman, she just needs to leave the house, what, there are so many concerns. What will I eat? What will I wear? I have no money, I have no income. So what kind of help do refuge provide? If you can just elaborate.
So in the refuges, most refuges, there's nothing for a woman to pay. They will get their room. Sometimes it's a shared accommodation where they'll share the kitchen and the bathrooms and stuff. But some of the refugees are self-contained flats. So is pretty much having your own flat or something. They're all the food, clothing, anything, the toiletries, anything that they need is provided by the refugees, so they don't need to care. And if they've got children, they will take care of children as well, and any needs they will rehouse. And the good thing about refugees as well, I think they can support women for up to 2 years, and after that they can help them kind of becoming more independent, going sorry, there was something wrong with the
No, it's fine.
So after that, they can help them becoming more independent, help them with housing, benefits. So it's a whole package. This holistic support with the refugees. They get, if they need counseling, they'll get that. Any medical assistance, any going forward for children, support for children, schooling, housing, all those things. It's under one kind of umbrella. That's right. So they get the full support.
It's so good, isn't it? I think in UK, at least women are lucky that you do get all this help, whether it's accommodation, legal help, help with children, anything, your health, everything is free. They don't need to pay for anything. They don't need to worry. So there is help available, isn't it?
And I think
does this apply? Does the same things apply for a woman who is a British citizen?
Yes, absolutely. So in my organization, if anybody needs to leave the relationship, leave house immediately, then there is those provision. Refugees are for citizens of UK, and there are some specialist refugees that are available. There are not many, but there is funding available and places available for people who are from abroad, not here, and have not got access to public funding, but the government has got
Okay, so it's basically no recourse to public funding. So for example, I'm on a divorce and I'm a British citizen, and I'm working, I'm earning. So obviously my situation is different, although I've got decree NICE, and because of the financial settlement is yet to happen, which is the hearing is next month. But my solicitors advised me not to leave the property, and we both are sharing the same property since we were here in the same property anyways. And ever since I've applied for the divorce, because my solicitor advised me not to leave the property, only for the reason that I would lose the right of getting the property rights or whatever it is, but during the financial settlement. So she's asked me to stay in the same property, so we are living under the same roof, as strangers, absolutely strangers since past 2 years, no talking. The only thing that we share is, unfortunately, is the air we breathe. So that's all to it. And so it suffocates. Honestly, it's suffocating being under the same roof and fighting for divorce. It's really suffocating. I've thought many times.
Can I say something? I had the same thing. Like, I had to live under the same roof. Even my solicitor advised me to stay under the same house.
I think is a normal protocol, I believe. Yeah.
But I took out a restraining order against him because he pushed me 2-3 times. I just had enough, and I just called the police, and then I went to the court to get a restraining order. So he could not go to my bedroom. Like, he could not come to my bedroom. Even I had to live nearly for 1.5 to 2 years with him. I got my divorce. Yes.
Sorry, who's this speaking? Sorry.
Anita.
Anita, okay, thank you, Anita. But let me tell you, the reason why I've applied for divorce is I've been taking this for 20 long years, and I've got 2 children. My son is
20 years.
Yeah, my son is 21, and my daughter is she's 16 now. Now, the reason I applied for divorce is he was very physical all the time, and the last thing that made me apply for divorce, he's literally dislocated my shoulder, twisting it backwards 180 degrees. And even now, I just can't move my back, my shoulder. This entire thing had moved forward here. So
Did you call the police then?
Of course, all these things happen. And now I can't bring any restraining order, normal order. The reason being, he's been already, like, been he was on the injunction order. He was on all those things has happened. He was on I can't remember the name. He's a consultant radiologist. He's a doctor.
Okay.
He's a doctor. He's a consultant radiologist, and he was on the medical grounds. They say something. He was on the 5 days in the court. That thing happened in Manchester. I can't remember the name of that thing. The 5 days period that something happened. I just can't remember the name of it. So he went through it, and he was on suspension. He was suspended for 3 months. For 4 months, he was suspended. So that's what happened. And ever since all those things happened, he's at home. He's so smart and careful. I'm sorry, I'm speaking it's in a low voice because he's there.
I understand.
So, yeah.
Can't you go for the occupation order? That you can go for the occupation order that he gets to be out because of the domestic abuse.
No, because the only thing that my solicitor said to me is they cannot bring in an occupational order or normal order or anything like that unless he's being abusive or he's harmful to me. But he does verbally abuse me on and off, and he's trying to mess up the things that he's doing is he just tries to mess up the house. He knows that the financial settlement is on the run, and he does mess up the property to the core so that I don't, this property, even if it comes to selling, it doesn't sell off to a good price, and I'm left with nothing. We've got 3 properties. We've got 3 properties, luckily in both the names, and all the 3 properties are on mortgages. And he does these things on purpose, just to see that I don't get anything.
But can I say, you just come across as such a strong woman. You come across as very, very strong. Like, you can now take on anything.
Honestly, I've become a Sherni now. I've become a Sherni, and I'm a tigress now. I just care the damn what he does, and he doesn't dare, because the girl who's talking to you in front of few people now is not the girl. I was not at all the girl 3 years back. I wouldn't even utter a single word. I was that kind of a woman. I was literally caged. My phone was always there on, he used to check. My phone password was set by him. My email ID, everything was set by him. I had literally absolutely no exposure to world. My world was kitchen, home. Even my job, I was working as a teaching assistant earlier. Even my job hours, the school I work, the classes that I work, the hours of work, everything was set by him. Everything was set by him.
That's exactly what we are talking about. Women think, oh, it cannot happen to her. She's a radiologist's wife, or she lives in a nice house. It cannot happen to her, but it can happen to anyone and even
anyone.
On this
Anyone?
note, I can add something because
Please,
what
please,
I've noticed,
Sanita.
yeah, on this one, because sometimes what I've noticed, like, the people have, couple has properties and sometimes the properties are
Yeah,
in
yeah,
husband's
yeah.
name. She doesn't have, like, her name. It's not, in your case, you were lucky that you have two joint properties. But even if you don't have properties in joint names, still, the best thing is in such cases to register your interest in the property. Even if you don't own the property,
Yeah.
you can, as a wife, you can register your interest in the property. So
Mm-hmm.
that if he's trying at the time of financial settlement or before, if he's trying to gift the property away to one of his relative, mother, sister, whatever, or if he's trying to, if he sell the property, he would need your permission. He can't sell it without
Yeah,
you being informed. And this is the best, like, this is the best thing when it comes to financial settlement. At least you have your right in the property. It will be heard, and this is how the property, like, it'll go in one pot, and he can't just, like, throw your
yeah,
right away, or he can't just usurp your right.
yeah.
So the best thing is put your name in the property.
I
You don't
have,
need his permission. You
I
don't need
have.
his permission. Yeah, because
Yeah.
luckily you had a solicitor, so you knew that. But many women who has not gone through, because the only thing they think is that, okay,
Someone
I
is
don't have
asking, how
anything.
do you register interest on the
Yeah,
property?
you need
Oh,
to get in
I'm,
touch with a solicitor. The solicitor can do it for
Yeah.
you,
To a
yeah,
and
solicitor.
they can help you, because you need to get in touch with the land registry, and this is how you put your
yeah,
interest in the property.
yeah. It's a
And
tedious
so
process. Yeah.
it is a process, but it can be done.
Yeah,
And you don't need his permission. The only thing
yeah,
you need to prove is that you're his legally wedded wife.
yeah,
And that's how, like, at
yeah.
least your assets are being secured at later stage. When it goes to the divorce procedure, you will get something. He
Yeah.
can't just, like, because
No,
recently
I
I
wouldn't
received a
let him
call.
do anything like that. I
Yeah,
I
no,
would sue him and
you are
sue
aware
him
now. The
down.
thing is,
Yeah, I
yeah,
would.
because you are aware. You have
Yeah,
gone through, like, all these 3 years have made you very wise. But there are
and
women
wild
who
as
don't
well.
know. Wild as well,
Wild as
which is a
well.
good thing. Which
Good
is a
on
good
you.
thing.
Good
You
on you,
needed to.
Tina.
Sorry.
Good on you.
Yeah, I've become a wild shamey now. Anybody comes, I'm like, sorry.
Mine is that it takes us such difficult journeys to actually
Oh,
stand up
indeed.
for
But
ourselves.
yeah, to
At
be
least,
honest
yeah, like
with
you're
you,
reborn. You're
to
reborn.
be honest with you, ladies, to be honest with you, I really, really thank him for making me the woman I am today, because I was such a shy woman, always caged. I wouldn't, if I see a man, I would look at him first to see what was his reaction would be, even to say hi to that guy. That was me. I wouldn't even if I felt that I didn't, I felt that it wasn't right for him to say to me, I would like think for 3 weeks how to say it to him. And by the time it would be like out the, old, and something would have popped up on top of it. So it's that. Well, anyways, I've come out of all those things, and now he needs to take my permission, and he wouldn't dare to touch me or say anything to me. I wouldn't kick him out of the house now. That's a different story. Now, the thing is,
Mindset. It's very much mindset. And
here, it's all here, ladies. It's all here.
Yeah.
Definitely. Whoever is there, the people who are here from the authority is trying to help and everything. And in the group, we have a group, and in there I say, just, guys, stop mourning, ladies. The
Take
moment
control
you're
of your
still
life.
there, you're saying, oh my God, he did that. Oh my God, he did this. Oh my God, you're there. No, just forget it. See what you can do. Just leave it. You did that. You watch me what I'm going to do now. That's what you should be doing. So if you keep on mourning, you're not helping yourself. You're still there. You're still drowning. Oh, I did that to him. I did this to him. In spite of doing all these things, he did that to me.
You need to let go and move forward. That's what it is. You need to let go.
That's part of it. There's some points where in the life where you've seen the downs mostly, and there are some points of life where you've enjoyed it as well, be it going outside or intimacy, whatever it is you've enjoyed, you've got babies. That's part of that. That person was meant to be in your life for that certain particular period, done and dusted. You need to watch, move on. That's it. That's what I'm going to say to anybody. There's no point. It's just, you are hurting yourself. You're going to find an identity for yourself. This fellow used to always tell me, your identity in this world is only because of me. You've come to UK, it's only because of me. I'm going to take you and throw in India, and I'll see who's going to look after you. This is what he's going to tell. He was telling me. You are in my...
Come in here. Veena, well done. Kudos to you. Well done, lady. This is what a woman should do faced by a challenge like this. But can I just come in here and say that and I'm equally thankful to my experiences in my previous marriage as well, Veena, because that brought me closer to the purpose, my life purpose, and awakened me to my higher self, and the rest of it that followed. So yeah, we are thankful, but we would not wish to experience that again, and we would not wish for any younger girl to experience it again. So I think, this thing that instilled within us from a very young age, that a girl's biggest goal in her life to have a man next to her, I think that messes up quite a few things for us.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that narrative needs to change from starting from wherever we can right now, right here. I mean, we can all cry and moan as we like. And yeah, we've obviously come through a lot of pain and we've grown stronger. But why should we have to go through this intensity of pain to become ourselves and to feel our own worth?
Yeah.
We want to, we would, 20 years ago, when you're younger and more energetic, if you started then, how much further we could have possibly gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Although
It's the
older
fear in
now,
us.
today, we are thankful for the experiences. We don't wish upon any of the younger girls to go through that. So I think for the biggest, most important, and the tiniest thing we can do is instill that in our younger girls.
Absolutely.
Educate them to be themselves, to believe in themselves, to love themselves unconditionally.
Yeah, I have seen that change in my daughter, ladies. Sorry, Meena. I've seen that in my daughter itself, because when all these things were happening, he has hit me and punched me. Literally, what he used to do is he used to just hold me like this, okay, bend me down, punch me on my back. This is what he used to do. Anything I say to him, the first thing he would do is slap me left and right. That was the first thing he used to do. Sorry, girls. And there was a time wherein he hit me so badly in front of my children that they both were in the corner. It's still coming into front of my eyes. And they were hugging each other with each other. And both of them were shivering, literally shaking and crying. And then it's like just not leaving me. And it's just on and on punching me. And I'm like, oh my God, my children. I'm saying, like, because I'm seeing them shivering and shaking, he's not letting me go to my children. And then the other, it's like, he you name it, have taken it. He has even hit me with a metal shoehorn, the long metal shoehorn. It's literally ripped my finger skins. I had bruises on my son had to come in between to save me. Those things. And just 1 month later, or 1 month after that, he dislocates my shoulder. This is the thing. And he's been abusive right from the beginning. I was not allowed to speak to my parents. I had to take his permission to speak to my parents. Especially when I came to UK in 2005. And when we came to UK, it was for him, it's like, I'm his property. Nobody can ask me because there's nobody here for me. Absolutely nobody. For him, it's like, I can do anything with her. She's my puppet. I can do anything. I absolutely was so fearful. I was a girl who was like, well, then, like, although I'm educated, I'm doing my master's at the moment. I was a teaching assistant all this while. I'm a tutor in a college, and I'm teaching business administration at the moment.
Can I just say, I am so thankful for you for opening your heart to us like this.
Oh, I don't mind. Honestly, I don't mind if it's going to help people. Yeah.
I really appreciate you being here. Honestly, you're really a standout, example of what women can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a role model. If my stories.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
No, if my story is going to inspire any girl who's like, suffering in any corner of the world, I'm happy to do anything. I care the damn what people think about me. I don't care who points at me. The only concern is not about me, it's about my daughter. I have seen her when I started applied for divorce, when I started to stand up for myself and I started to talk for myself and started to revolt,
Yeah.
I've seen my daughter coming out of the shell. The changes that I'd seen in her, oh my God, I felt like I did it. I did it.
That's one thing that I would vouch for, Veena, that we need to stand up and we need to
Yeah.
share our stories blatantly, totally shamelessly, and rightly said that, you know, people will talk about you, they'll point fingers at you, they'll call you names. Okay, fine, this is my journey. I know where I've been. You know where you've been. You know what you've endured. You know what you've stood up to. And
Yeah.
now, you know, you've had enough. And
Sorry,
your
girls.
journey, you know, sharing your story, Veena, is definitely going to help someone out there who needs
Definitely.
who
Yeah.
needs to hear this out and think if they're going through something similar, this will give them hope that there is a possibility to get
Yeah.
out. So I would say anybody has, you know, who's gone through something like this, and we are ridden with shame and guilt, as I said. So
Yeah.
thanks to inspiring Indian women,
So,
thanks to
yeah.
Rashmi, who took this initiative to bring us all together and gave us this platform to talk about this. You know,
Yeah.
totally of our own accord. Sorry, Rima, please.
I was just going to say this whole sort of stigma and what people say or what name shaming that
I
you must
know.
I think
So
all
bad
of
for a
us,
girl.
whether we're educated or not, is so backwards. Not only that, but it's also, what does that reflect on someone else? What does that reflect on other people that are actually sitting there judging you? Are you telling me women of older generation, possibly 70 to 80%, if not more, actually went through domestic violence without even realizing they did? Because we talked about it at the outset, it's not just physical, it's actually emotional as well. Being put down is also domestic violence. So if you're judging somebody for speaking out, if you're judging somebody for being a role model to their children, from saving them a life of hardship and standing by themselves, they're much stronger than you'll ever be.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what you're going through is,
Right.
it's,
I
so I
mean,
think you've got to really step away from that sort of, who cares what anybody else will say. You
yeah.
need to look at
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
You know what? No girl gets married to a guy, or maybe love marriage, love and arrange, or an arranged marriage who doesn't know like that guy like me. We don't get married to, you know, oh, okay, ek din hum log, and I mean, one day we will give divorce. We want to have a good
Happy
life,
life.
married till the end, you know, when we
Happily
grow
ever
old.
after. That is what every woman thinks.
Marriage
Getting
is not
married.
bed of roses, to be honest. It's not bed of roses. Of course, at least at the end, when we get old, when the children are gone away, I'm there for you. You are there for me to help each other, support each other. That's what it is. But we do go through lots of things. It's compromises. Basically, marriage is all about compromise. You can't expect, oh, he's going to be lovey-dovey, happy. No, chuma. Nothing will going to happen in marriage. So it's compromise. We girls compromise a lot. To some extent, there is a limit. When he has written 4 pages of rules for me to follow. Can you imagine a consultant radiologist being in a medical field, highest position in the medical field, doing that?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's giving me goosebumps, you know, listening to your story. But
Oh,
it's going to be an inspiration. Your story is definitely
I can do a TEDx talk on this one, and it'll take a day for people to know what it is, and everybody will gather up, gang him up on, and then bash him on the floor. I'm telling you, it is going to happen that way.
I think we girls should. I think
Honestly,
we all feel like that right
because
now.
my story is very novelistic. If you think that it's very novelistic, the way it is, I've gone through everything, you name it, I've taken it. And that's what has made me like this today. And he doesn't dare to.
Write a book, Veena. You should. You say that novelist. You must write a book. Because
people have said this to me. But yeah, I think probably I might do that one day. When the first things first is I need to stabilize myself, get rid of this divorce thingy, stabilize myself financially, and the next thing is I would be in a position wherein I want to help all those women who thinks that, oh my God, if I do this, what is going to happen to him? What is going? Bhar mein jai, girls. Why are you thinking about him when he didn't even think when he's hitting you and kicking you? That's what I am.
I just want to say, Veena, I'm so proud of you. And one thing, you know, everybody, she's a very beautiful singer. And in one of our programs, she sang "Aap Jaisa Koi Mere," which was so beautifully sung.
Wow, that's one of my favorites.
Veena, do line against the TV, or, you know, do line for the life in you. 2 lines only, without music, anything, just 2 lines. She's a beautiful singer.
Okay. Oh, little did you tell me before, Rashmi, I would have got my mixer ready. Okay. एक प्यार का नगमा है, मौजों की रवानी है, जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी मेरी कहानी है, एक प्यार का नगमा है. Thank you.
Very nice.
Very nice.
That was amazing,
The
Tina. That
song
was
is, the
Very
words
nice,
were
Tina.
so
You are
Okay,
beautiful.
ladies,
amazing.
being, I was just thinking, I was just like, because there was some information shared, being immigration consultant, I just wanted to correct some information or give me more details on that, because as you will be aware, like, that whoever NRI brides, like, they are not, whatever visa they get, it's a no recourse to public funds. So that means when they separate, they won't be any help available at that stage. And there is a 3 months concession which was talked about here. So what happens is this 3 months concession, we call it DDV concession. So when you separate, you make an application to the Home Office where we say that you are separated, you don't have any funds available, and you are on the no recourse to public funds. So that means the Home Office, we request the Home Office to allow you to access the benefits, the social security system. So then once this application is approved, it is approved for 3 months here, and once that is approved, then that means you can contact your local council, the department, the benefit department, and then you can get your benefits sorted. So that means you are not destitute at that time. So you still have some money coming in to survive. Either you are in refuge or you're living separately, your rent can be looked after, you can still survive, either it, and it'll be given according to whether you're alone or you with a kid. So that Home Office give you 3 months. For that 3 months is to access the benefits and make an application for your status. So within those 3 months, you need to make an application, for your indefinite or whichever visa you think you're entitled to. Obviously, your solicitor thinks you're entitled to, and then that's the time, the rest of the process start. But I just wanted to highlight on this DDV, and I think it was said here that this application for indefinite, regularizing your stay, it's not by default a free application. There is a fee, 2,000 something, which Home Office charges for such application. So it's not a free application by default. But yes, there is a policy that you can, if you're destitute, if you're working, then you won't be. But if you're destitute, then you can make an application for the exemption. So for exemption of the Home Office fee. So once that exemption is granted, then your application will be looked into free of cost, but not otherwise. It's not by default free application. So there might be some misconception that for the domestic violence it's a free application. It is not. If you're working, if you are earning, then they will look into whether if you're destitute only then it will be free of considered as free application. But still you have to make an application to make it free. It's not by default thing. Just wanted to clarify a bit more on that, because people sometimes they call and they say, oh, it's I've come to know that it's a free application. It is not.
Okay, right. On this one, Savita, can I ask you something? Because this is regarding my passport, which I've got to renew. Obviously, because still the divorce has not been granted. I have to renew my passport, as I said, but it's still got his name. So if I renew my passport now, his name will still be on the renewed passport, isn't it?
Do you still have Indian passport?
No, I'm a British citizen.
Yeah, British citizen, British passport doesn't have any spouse's name on that. There is no
Yeah, that's what
provision.
I was
It will be your
thinking.
own passport. It's only in Indian
I've not
passport. In the last page of the Indian passport, the spouse name, parents name, and all that. British
Yeah.
passport, it's you're taken as a person. You are your your identity, a separate identity. You are not now known by the name of your husband.
Oh,
There's
yes,
no
is it?
provision.
Brilliant. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So that's one thing I was thinking what to do. And now, anywhere because my bank account is still as like Meena Vishwanath, and everywhere it is his surname, unfortunately. So, but I'm literally, I don't know whether should I just put myself a Veena with a different surname.
No, you can't do on its own. You have to
Mm,
go for a statutory declaration. And
mm,
once, like, in a statutory declaration, you can just, like, say that from this day onwards, I want to relinquish my this name and to be known as this name. But solicitor can help you, like, we do it all the time. So we prepare the statutory
even at
declaration on
this
behalf of the
moment,
client. Oh,
even
yes,
at
yes.
this,
You can,
even at this moment.
yes, you
Oh,
can do that.
okay,
You don't have to
brilliant.
wait for the divorce for that, no.
Yeah,
You
you
can do
can.
it anytime.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
it's quite a sort of, it's quite straightforward. You just sort of get what's called change of name deed
Yeah.
as well, which you sort of basically changing your name. You're entitled to, of course, again, the benefit of being living in an English legal system is that you're entitled and you're recognized as one. So you just, it's it's not that expensive. I think some solicitors will
20 pounds. Okay, I did see it there in the website. It's about 20 pounds or something. That's it. But when I contacted my solicitor,
yeah, but it's
yeah,
quite,
she said,
it's not expensive. You just change
okay,
it. And that's it.
okay. I was thinking this is an post-divorce process, but grand.
No,
That's
Do it whenever.
fantastic. Okay, that's
Rid of
grand.
it whenever.
That's grand.
You are in this country, the best thing is you are taken as an
Absolutely.
individual. You have your
Mm,
own identity. You're not
mm,
known by the name of your father. You're not known by the name of your husband. Like,
mhm.
you are an identity on your own. So you
Okay.
can change your name. You're over 18, you can change your name anytime to anything you want. Name, surname, whatever you want to.
And that does not affect my financial settlement in any ways, right?
No, not at all. Not at
Okay.
all. You can send a copy of the statutory declaration, which we call change of name deed in layman terms. So, like, you can send it to the
Fine.
court and it'll be fine.
Okay. And I don't know if Savita, you're the right person to give me some advice on this one. Like I was talking to you here on this platform about the 3 properties which we have and what he's doing, and just briefed it out. 3 properties are on brilliant mortgages, and he's trying to mess this up because this is an independent property that we are living. I'm living in Kingston upon Thames, and it's one of the, like, big areas, and it's like big amount. And the other 2 is in Hertfordshire, which we've rented it out. All of them are on mortgages. Now, how does it work out is a thing for me. So obviously my solicitor did give me an idea that either it will be like 50-50, where you have one house and he will have the other 2, and then you take over the mortgages and everything. But my my income is, if I get this property, which I would wish for, if I get this property in my name, my income is not that great that I can satisfy the monthly mortgages payments, because this mortgage every month he is paying 3,000 and odd. Damn, he earns 120 to 30,000 pounds per annum. Stinking rich guy he is, and that's why he plays up.
Right. So how many children you have? You said you got 2 kids, 1 kid?
I've got 2 children. My son is 21 and my daughter is 16, and
16.
I'm 45, so I don't know how it works out age-wise, or I don't know.
Right.
44.
Yeah. So what happens, like, I don't think you will get 50. I think you will be entitled to more. So if you fight it enough properly in the court, it should be 60 or 70%. You can, like, negotiate. And because you have, the reason being, because you have a minor child living with you, minor daughter, and the child needs a roof on the head. And you have spent, like, 20 odd years in this marriage. And so it should be more than 50. But yeah, solicitors, like, we can always say that, okay, 50-50 should be there, but there are chances for more. But in your case, I can say it should be more. And
all right.
So if there is a problem with the rental, if you think that you can't mortgage, there's one point you can highlight to the court. You can talk to your solicitor about it, but you can mention, like, that if obviously he's going to raise that or you are not working enough and you're not earning enough to pay for the mortgage, like, 3,000 pounds, like, how you're going to manage.
No.
But you need to see the equity in the property, in all the properties together. So he can sell one property and and the rest of the properties you can you can take the control of the mortgage. So equity in that property could be your deposit, and you can pay off some of the mortgage or remortgage, whichever way you can look into that. If there are 50,000 pounds, you can secure, you can pay towards your mortgage if you take the property
Of course,
in your
yeah.
name. And another thing, then you can, if the property is big enough and you think, you can try and convince the court that I can rent 1 room or 2 rooms in this property, and then in addition to my normal income, then this will be my rental income. So it's a matter of convincing that you need to keep all your options open. You need to tell everything to the court and let the court decide. So there are ways you need to think what else you can do about it. So if you have any savings, one property equity can be, help you in this, paying for this mortgage to some extent, or for a few months. And then so all these things. So you can talk to your solicitor about it.
Okay.
So, Veena, you need to think has your solicitor not given you these options? Then, because sometimes, like when your husband is rich, they can afford a better solicitor. And you see cases like that, where the wife loses out simply because the husband could afford a better solicitor.
Yeah.
So if you're not being given these options already, you need to just make sure.
Yeah. It has been given. My solicitor has been giving an advice and everything, but still, when I got this opportunity in this platform, I thought if there's any more information, then obviously he has hired, expensive one. And I had got decree NIC in 2019 itself, 2019, 2020, in January, something like that. And then 2020 January, but he a standby or withdrew it or whatever, withstand that one. Yeah, he did that one, just giving some petty reasons. And now the decree NIC, we just reapplied for it, and now the decree NIC is in place now. All my 6 allegations were proved with evidences, everything. The other thing that he could do is, I just want to tell you how low he could stoop is. He hired people in India to make me as a debut singer. He just staged everything, a small music class and a small studio, wherein that guy came to me and he called me and said, I'm going to make you a debut singer. He sponsored my flight tickets and everything this guy planned. Everything this is staged by him. He wanted me crazy. And that guy, whoever did that, he had sexual intentions on me. And I know, God knows how I escaped. That too with the help of my cousin. You know how India is like with the single girl, right? He can do anything, right? And now when I got this decree NIC, the court put all the cost on him. His cost plus my cost is paying just for decree NIC £50,000.
That serves him right. Harpal Singh, are you there? Harpal? Good to have you here. Harpal, what's your take? Why do men do this?
First thing I'm going to say, first of all, thank you for all the people here giving their views. And so I've been working domestic violence now for over about 5-6 years now. Original book called The First Slap, which is based on the Indian understanding of what goes on in domestic violence. One thing I'll say to you here is, a lot of the times, the reasons I found people don't leave or they accept abusive relationship is because of the culture. Culture is, and I'm going to just summarize, culture is one of the reasons where people get suppressed in what they are. Because a lot of the times, Shadi Hojati, when they get married, people have said, this is your life, you deal with it. And if someone goes through a divorce, it's a taboo. Someone goes to divorce with kids, it's even worse situation. Our society does not accept people from leaving their marriages. They die than get divorced.
Yeah.
And this is our biggest problem in our culture at this present moment in time, because a lot of the times our culture is not religious. Our religion doesn't tell us what to do. Our traditional cultural thing, it stops us from actually leaving. Family pressure is also great. If someone goes through a domestic abuse situation, you talk to your family, they go, you know what, we've got 101 situations going on here. You've got married to him. It's a love marriage, arranged marriage, whatever marriage it is, you stay with that relationship. And it goes both for men and for women, especially those who have come from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. The whole factor of them not being able to A, know the English, B, not know their rights, and C, be in a situation where they're totally dependent, not just from financial but emotional benefits as well. Another problem that we have is the subject of children. And I've worked with loads of number of couples who won't go through divorce until the children have left the house. I know in our culture, we're blessed with two jewels, I call them. One's sharam and the other one is izzat. And these two facets, these two jewels that have been given to us by our parents and the forefathers, they go hand in hand with each other. Culturally, your izzat is everything in our community. Your sharam, what are the next door neighbors going to say? What are these people going to say? And one of these times we need to break away from this sharam and this izzat, because I rather, if my daughter was going through a divorce or going through domestic abuse, I'd rather her coming to me alive than her coming back to me in a coffin. There is no izzat. There's no sharam in, if things are not working, let's move on. But in our community, either Hindu community, Muslim, or Sikh community, we're too concentrated on this izzat that we have, which I don't see where it's coming from. And we need to be more proactive in supporting people rather than shunning them away. And what we're doing is shunning them away. A lot of the times I've seen people go from, I've had cases where men have been alcoholic, they've been drug takers, couldn't find a girl from here, chalo, India chalte hain, wahan se ladki le aate hain. They bring a little girl from India, there's stuff that needs to be processed for them, and it's not been processed, and they shift the blame onto the girl. So the relationship's bad. Typical example, relationship's bad. First thing they say is have a kid. That will help you in a relationship. When you have a relationship which is rocky, having a child in that relationship does not solve the problem. It makes it even worse. So not only have you got a dysfunctional marriage, you've now got dysfunctional marriage with a child who needs 100% support. This also becomes a controlling mechanism for people not to leave. Listen to Vina's story, I really feel for you, what you said. The years of being in abuse, it really stems from there. And this is another controlling mechanism that is used to control people and making sure that they don't move. If you're not earning enough, that's another thing. If you've got children, it's another controlling mechanism. And a lot of the times people get away with it. Why? Because it takes on average 38 attempts. 38 attempts of domestic abuse before someone actually goes to the police. In 2018, the ratio is 1 to 4 women. 1 in 4 women were affected by domestic abuse. That's 25%. So we've got about 25 people here. So about 5 of you at the present moment would have been affected by domestic abuse. That is a very, very high number. But the scariest stat is that's only the recorded number of people that have been abused. The unreported crimes, I wouldn't like to put a reference to that. And men and domestic abuse is also increasing as well. We say men are increasing as well. 1 in 6 men in 2018 were affected by domestic abuse. And it's both from the Burma community and especially the Asian and sub-Asian community as well. And the problem we're facing here is we're going to our communities and our communities are not supporting us. We've got this group over here, and thank you for Reshmi to sorting this group out. But this is a dip. This is a small drop in the ocean of domestic violence in our culture. And until our people in places of faith, in the Gurdwara, Masjid or Mandir, or a church, until they don't stamp this out, until they don't take someone else's daughter and make them feel like it's their daughter, until they don't take that pain of domestic violence and domestic abuse and feel it that's their own pain, nothing's going to change. We come from a society where women, I'm going to be open. In India, it's man, cow, woman. And that's the preference that goes on here. Women are not treated as well as they should do. We're in a society, we come from a country where we worship deities, we worship goddesses. But in reality, we think they're actually worse than the dirt of our feet. And this is bad for me being an Indian man saying this, but I have to be truthful. This is the mentality we have. And until that mentality doesn't change, I am sorry, what you're saying is going to be repeated day in, day out, relationship in, relationship out. And this is our problem in our society. It's all talk and no action. You've got some really, really good solicitors who actually talked on the panel. But until these guys are doing a fantastic job, and Reshma and Savitri, hats off to you for working up with these women and all the cases that you've done. But there's loads of other people that will haven't got the opportunity to work with such people. I know me and Ritu have been working on a number of different programs, and we've done a lot of work. Me and Reshmi from IIW, we've done this kind of work, but it needs more momentum. It really needs us to be more united and stick together to work on this. It's not going to change overnight, but every time we talk about this, every time we make some hoo-ha about it, every time you create the awareness, every time you talk about places like refugees camps, Black Southall Sisters, every time we build this up, it creates that awareness. It reduces that 38 attempts down to 36,
Absolutely.
30. If you can reduce it down to the first time it happens, accepting what domestic abuse is. If I said to you, domestic abuse is not easy. It's not just the physical. It's not the punching. It's not the slapping. It's not the biting. It's a psychological. It's the emotional abuse. It's a sexual abuse, and it's a financial abuse. The physical you can see. The physical abuse you can physically see. Someone gives you a black eye, a blue eye, slaps you, punches you. You can see. The emotional, the psychological, you can't see it. You don't even know it's happening to you. Sometimes you can be abused emotionally and psychologically, and you think nothing's happened. Sexually abused. If a man on the street attempts to have sexual contact with you, it's classified as rape because you don't want to do it. But why is it a husband has his given right to go to his wife and go, I want to have sex with you right now, even though she says no? Because it's culturally acceptable. It's culturally a man's right to have sex with his wife when and where she wants it, regardless of she doesn't want to do it or not. Financial abuse is a big killer, especially with those who don't work. Because in this day and age, if you control someone financially, you can do whatever you want with them. I've probably said a lot of things out of question and out of content. And to be honest, if I've hurt someone's sentiments and emotions, I don't apologize, because this is how things are. I need to raise the awareness. What I've said here is factual, and if someone wants to sue me, good luck. I'm sure I've got a few lawyers who help me out if I do go wrong. But putting jokes aside, from a male perspective, it's so easy to abuse a woman, and it's made even easier by our community. And I'm sorry to say this, I'm going to put a lot of blame on our elders and from our community who do not support this place. So thank you for giving me this time to speak, and back to you guys.
Thank you, Harpal. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session, 2 hours, and we didn't even realize where the time went. But I think the conclusion we are coming to is women don't need to suffer in silence. If you need help, if you need support, you need to get out. You don't need to put up with it. And you are not alone. This is UK especially. You've got lots of help available. So please don't suffer in silence. And of course, the next thing I would say to end is that to break the cycle, we need to bring up our boys differently. We all women in the society, in the community, we are the mothers bringing up the kids. So we need to bring up our sons in a way that where they're respecting women and they are not just looked on as a commodity. Okay, thank you so much. I think we are going to wind up the session. each and every panelist, thank you so much for your time today. It's really wonderful to see all you passionate women. I can see everyone here feels so strongly about this. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for your time. Veena, thank you for opening your heart. Anita, thank you. And our lovely panelists, Savita, Rima, Ritu, thank you for joining. And I'll have another session next time soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Rashmi.
Thank you all very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And stay in touch. Just need to tell everybody that we have a support group. If anybody wants to join, just PM us. Anyone.
Wondering if
and
we can just
add.
share our details. We can all share the details,
Yeah,
with a little information about each other, so that in case we need to signpost someone or anything, it can be helpful for each other.
Yeah. Just be
And we can all be in the
anonymous.
group. We can all be in the WhatsApp group anyway, so we can signpost to each
And
other.
that group is completely confidential.
Yeah.
I would like to be involved as well, if possible.
Oh,
Definitely,
please,
Meena,
Meena, we
get
need
involved.
you.
Yeah.
I think Mina's sort of work is so helpful, because I actually recently, what we were talking about, the whole concession with legal aid and immigration applications. Mina, you deal with quite a few of those, don't you? So Mina knows how to kind of make that happen or signpost people in the right direction. So yes, I think it'll be great to have you, Mina, and I'm glad that you could join.
Yeah, thank you, Rima, for introducing her. That was really good.
And the entire session will be on YouTube by tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Can
Thank you,
I just
everyone.
say something just before I go? We talk about raising the awareness on domestic abuse. Freedom program is an online program that I think every woman, every man, everybody should do. Even our girls at school age should be taught. So it's just literally Freedom Online, and it's a very, very, it empowers women. It lets them know about the relationship. What does a good relationship looks like, and what does a bad relationship looks like? So I think even the girls is of 16 year of age should do that at the school. They should be teaching that. So if anybody get chance, have a look, log on to Freedom Online program. It's an amazing program. It's an eye opener. And the other thing I wanted to just quickly mention before we go is Clare's law is a law is for the women who are in India and getting married. They can do a police check, and it's all confidential, to look at the history of a person, whether he has been involved in abusing any ex-partner or any other family members or anyone. So it is available and it's all confidential. So whilst when you're doing your checks, do that. Clare's law, it's all free and confidential advice. Is done by the police, and it is available to anybody who is
That's so helpful.
wants to look at something.
That's
Thank you.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Kashmira, thank you for your input as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very
Thank
much. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Uh,
A good catch.
Sorry.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye,
everybody.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye to all
Bye.
the
Bye-bye.
writers here. Very inspiring episode. Very inspiring.
Yeah, brilliant. Really
Indeed.
brilliant.
Indeed. Indeed.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.